I got a reason to sing, a reason to dance. I've still got a reason for joy, to still clap my hands. I got a reason, not based in believing. It's all 'cause I know who I am. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance.
Let's sing that again.
I got a reason to sing, a reason to dance. I still got a reason for joy, to still clap my hands. Woo! I got a reason, not based in believing. It's all 'cause I know who I am. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Woo! Hey! If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Yeah! Woo! I've got a reason to love, a reason to share. I've still got a reason to build, still reason to care. I got a reason, not based in believing. It's all 'cause I know who I am. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Hey, if you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. Hey, if you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. When I think of all the things I've learned on the greatness of the vast unknown, how could I not be overwhelmed in awe of the majesty being alive right now? When I think of all the things I've learned on the greatness of the vast unknown, how could I not be overwhelmed in awe of the majesty being alive right now? If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. To sing, to clap my hands for every night, have reason. If you knew my story, you know. Oh, you knew my story, you know. If you knew my story, you know. If you knew my story, you know. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason. I still got a reason. I still have a reason, not based in believing, but I still got a reason. If you knew my story, you know I got a reason to dance. If
Welcome
you got
in,
a reason, would you be
everybody.
loud
It
about it?
is 5 o'clock or after 5 o'clock on my side of the world. So, listen, I'm so glad to see you here joining us for a special conversation tonight. Of course, as always, as you're coming in, make sure you let us know where you're coming from because, hey, you might be watching with your neighbors. So let us know where you're watching from. Where are you joining us from on this beautiful, what is it? Is it Tuesday? Is it a Tuesday? I can't keep my days together, man. It's busy times. But on this beautiful Tuesday evening, I don't think I have any announcements. We've started a new series on Sunday, Reciprocity. It was wild this past Sunday. Go check it out. I'm loving seeing the action in the chat. Welcome in, Dark Light. Hey, Kyle, what's up, Natalie? And I see some new faces. All right. Oh, Mr. Tomcat, what's going on? MC Hammer glasses, indeed. All right. Well, they're actually Timberland glasses, but I'll take it. I'll take it. It's a little 30 years behind, but I'll still take it. I'll still take it. Hello, everyone. Listen, I have a good friend of mine that I'm bringing on tonight. That we're going to have a conversation, and honestly, I'm going to let him do a lot of the talking. I've had him on the channel before. I'm pretty sure some of you are already following him, and if you're not, why aren't you? What are you waiting on? I mean, what's wrong with you? Like, what's got in your goose? Make sure you go follow the man. No, he has an excellent channel, does a wonderful job exposing the harmful theology of Christianity. And he's another person that's speaking to it from experience, not just curiosity. So his confidence in what he's talking about is earned, not borrowed. And so, without further ado, I want y'all to welcome to the channel H.G. Roberts. Welcome in, my friend. How are you doing today?
Hey, Durante, man, it is so good to see you again. I love every opportunity that we have to connect. They're rare, but man,
Yes.
when they come around, they are very special to me. And when you invited me to come on the show, that's all I've been thinking about. Been keeping me up at night, excited because you're one of the there's a few people, but you're one of the few people that I feel like we can have a conversation about this stuff. We
Yeah.
both understand where we're coming from. We both experience some of this stuff, and you get it. You know how to
Yes.
talk about it, and so I'm really excited to be here, and I'm doing okay. I just want to let all your viewers know that I am getting over a cold, so you're going to hear me sniffling a little bit and probably coughing, clear my throat a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I am getting over a cold, but forget all that for right now. I'm just so happy to be here. So good to see you, my friend.
Man, thank you for being here. And I'm just going to add to that. You may also hear me coughing and sniffling, but it's not because I'm getting over a cold. It's because I smoke like a chimney, even though I probably shouldn't. But
Hey,
listen,
man,
the way I
the
wanted to go
Yeah,
ahead. No, you go ahead.
the resonance in your voice, though, man. I don't know. You've earned that resonance. Let's put it that way. I love the
I got
voice,
it
bro. I
honestly. I
love it.
tell you that.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I wanted to start tonight because I want to get into your channel a little bit as we go
Yeah.
on later on. But before we do, I wanted to kind of hear your deconstruction story for those who've not heard it a
Yeah.
little bit. And so I'm just going to platform you here. You talk. I'll try not to interrupt too much in this beginning part
Yeah.
because I just want you to be able to tell your story, and then I'll jump in a little bit with some questions. Are you comfortable with that? I just put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, that totally comfortable with that. Totally prepared to do that. Just a
Awesome.
caveat. I want to just trigger warning for your viewers.
Yeah.
It's a rough story. Well, I mean, yeah, it's rough. The deconstruction part is rough, but what led to it is even rougher.
Yeah.
And so I just want to let your viewers know that we're going to go to some dark places because it's
Yes, sir.
necessary. And that's what I do on my channel is I bring this darkness out into the light because you'd be surprised at how many people who suffer from religious trauma also suffered from adverse childhood experiences.
Yes,
And
sir.
there's links in the literature to those things. I'm sure we'll get into all that. So yeah, totally comfortable sharing my story. And yeah, jump in, shut me down, and say, all right, we got that point. Move on to the next, or ask any clarifying questions because there's a lot to cover.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Well, let's get into it. I'm gonna solo you on the stage for a while. This is your house for the next few minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Uh, so where do I begin? And this is why I say trigger warning, because it starts when my parents divorced. I think I was about 5 years old, and father moved away, remarried to stepmother. I lived with my mother and stepfather who were not religious. But I did have, well, before I get to my friends across the street, after they divorced, the family dynamics changed a little bit, and the social dynamics of my family changed a little bit, as you can imagine, and that opened up the door for some sexual abuse. And so I was repeatedly sexually molested as a young child. I think it was around 7 years old. It lasted probably over the course of about 8 weeks. It
Wow.
was through another man, an older, stronger, sort of authority figure in my life. And those words are important, and we can connect those dots in just a little bit. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, so that happened, and I'm not going to get into the gory details about what happened, but I do want your viewers to imagine the worst, because that is what happened. And in many ways, shapes and forms. And there was also physical abuse with that. So there were a few times that I was beat pretty hard in the midst of that. Sometimes for lack of compliance, and that's important. And other
Ooh.
times I do remember being brought almost to what I feared was my death, because this person would like sit on my chest and pinch my nose and lips shut, until I nearly passed out from not being able to breathe. I was literally convulsing under his body while he was doing that. And so there wasn't just, the predatory sexual abuse. There was also physical abuse in that. And that's important. That's going to set the stage for just about everything else that we talk about here. So then fast forward after that, shortly on the heels of that, I think I'm still 7, maybe 8 years old. I'm introduced to a Christian family across the street from me. I was friends with their son, who was my age. He brought me over to dinner one time, and that was when the Christian father thought it would be a pretty good idea to introduce me to the Bible and to Jesus Christ. And he did it all through the end times narrative, the book of Revelation.
Oh,
And
wow.
basically, the message was basically, hey, do you know who Jesus Christ is? And I'm like, no, never heard of him. Well, would you like to know? Because your life depends on it. And I'm like, okay. And I'm feeling a little uneasy even at that age. And then he proceeds to tell me the narrative of the end times, that if you don't put your faith and trust and hope in Jesus Christ and accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior now, the end times are coming soon. And if you're not saved, you'll be branded with a 666. You'll become the devil's property. You'll be tortured through all the plagues and excuse me, the bowls of wrath and everything else that's going to happen during the 7-year tribulation. And so don't you want to accept Jesus Christ now to avoid all that and be raptured into heaven before all that bad stuff happens? I was utterly terrified. And now imagine somebody who was just repeatedly sexually abused by a bigger, stronger, older predator, who's then told that if you don't comply with the desires of a bigger, stronger, older God, his
Wow.
wrath will consume you, just like your molester's wrath consumed you during those sessions. So I do want the viewers to make that connection, and that's important. That's cognitively important, and that is psychologically important as we move forward in the narrative. So I was introduced to Jesus Christ through the end times narrative, and you better believe in that living room of that family across the street, with all the siblings watching me and like, come on, you want Jesus and you want to be written into his book of life. I did pray to receive Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior, and in utter terror. Now I know many Christians, well, there's your problem, HG. That's not a great way to be. And so I always ask the question, well, is what that family did wrong? I mean, were they not like adhering to one of the Christian mandates to save others, to evangelize to others, to proselytize to others? And were they wrong for using the end times narrative, which is in the book of Revelation? I mean, they used the Bible to witness to me. And
Mhm.
so, do you think they prayed about that divine, what do you call it, a divine connection ahead of time? Do you think maybe they said, "Lord, we want to witness to HG when he comes over for dinner. Give us the words, give us the strength and the power to show him your love, show him that you care about him and that he needs to be saved." Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what they did. Hang on. Like I said, that's going to happen repeatedly. So anyhow, so then fast forward from there, and I'm going to leave out a lot of parts. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights. I grew up with my mother and my stepfather, who again were not religious. However, that family across the street convinced me that if I don't develop a relationship with Jesus Christ and get to know him and understand the Bible, that my eternal destination was at stake. And so I hid a Bible in my room so my mom couldn't find it. I read Revelation. It terrified me. An 8-year-old kid reading Revelation with nobody to tell you what it means, nobody to interpret it for you, just straight up reading the words of the Bible. Now, that's important too. As you and I both know, it doesn't take bad pastors, it doesn't take bad teaching, it doesn't take false prophets to convince you to be terrified of God or to be afraid
Mhm.
of hell or all these other things. It just takes the Bible. And that's
Yep.
one of the things I always try to communicate on my channel, because people constantly are saying like, well, your problem, HG, is you just were in a bad church, you just were in a bad Bible group, you just had, you were just exposed to bad teachers. I'm like, no, I'm reading straight scripture here. This is just the Bible, how it terrorizes the minds of people. Anyway, getting back to my story. So my father became a strong Christian and he remarried. So I had a stepmother, both of them strong Christians. I'm now in middle school and I grew up in the 80s. And you might remember in the 80s, the Cold War was a big thing. And on the nightly news, you'd always hear about the Russians stockpiling nuclear weapons, America
Mhm.
stockpiling nuclear weapons, because at any day now, we were both going to push the trigger and nuclear war was going to break out. You might remember the movie The Day After, which was like the
Yeah.
seminal movie about nuclear war that came out in the 80s. So nuclear war was a thing. Now, because of my sexual abuse and because of being exposed to God through the end times narrative, I developed anxiety disorders. And when nuclear war became a pervasive topic in America, in my childhood, I became uh, extremely like unhealthily, like mentally ill, kind of terrified of a nuclear war. And I developed anxiety disorders out of that until finally expressed my fear to my father and my stepmother, who were both strong Christians. And my stepmother, and I'll never forget the words, and it's in my memoir that I talk about. She said, well, you have nothing to worry about. God's not going to let man destroy the world. He's going to do it himself. Now, two clauses to that. God's not going to let man destroy the world. In other words, you don't have to fear a nuclear war. God's not going to let Russia and America push the buttons, right? We're not going to see that. God's going to do it himself. And what she was referring to, of course, was again,
Mhm.
Revelation, the end times. It's like he's got it all figured out of how he's going to have all this go down. Of course, some people would say, well, Revelation does depict nuclear warfare, fire. You know what I'm saying? Like you could
Yeah.
easily make that argument as well. But the fact that she said, God is not going to let man destroy the world, immediately made me think God can be a protector God. If I continue to submit my life and get really serious about my relationship with Jesus Christ, I can earn, I could covet, I could elicit his protection of me, and I don't have to worry not just about a nuclear war, but I don't have to worry about being afraid of anything. Because again, I had severe anxiety disorders as a kid. And so from that moment on, I got very serious about my relationship with Christ and being a Christian. And what I mean by that is being a conservative fundamentalist Christian, because that's what my dad and stepmom were. And so that's the world we still, hello? Oh, are we back?
I think we're back. Let's see. I can hear you now. I just still
I,
can't
I
see
can't
you.
hear you.
You can't hear me?
Hmm,
Let's see
I
here.
don't hear you. Let's see.
Technical difficulties. Man, it was
I
getting so
can't.
good.
Can you hear me, Durante?
I can hear you. Let me type it
I
in
don't know if
the
that's a yes or no, but
audience. Let us know if y'all can hear us or
I
not.
can't
Which
hear
one?
you any longer. And I don't know if your guests can hear me. Everything went black on my screen for a second.
I see that. Let me check.
And if you want, maybe I can log out and come back in if that might help. But you'll have to just sort of use hand signals because I can't hear anything.
Yeah, let's try that. Yeah, they can hear us both. They can't see you. So we might have to jump out and jump back in. And while y'all are waiting, thank you for your patience. We're just having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Let me see here.
Durante, if you can hear me, nod your head. Okay, you
Yep.
can hear me, but
Yes.
people can't see me and hear me as well.
Correct.
Okay, do you want me to log out and come back in and let's see if that works?
Yes.
So yes, okay. I'm gonna close out and then come back in and let's see if that works. I'll be back in a second.
Awesome. And so while he's doing that, you know, we'll talk. I am curious because I got some time to pay attention to the chat right now. What are your thoughts so far with hearing HG's story? Like, we haven't even got to the deconstruction point yet. So far, what we've heard is how he was introduced to Jesus. And of course, very interestingly, he's introduced to Jesus after experiencing something that is absolutely traumatizing. And then the way he's introduced to Jesus is further traumatizing. Like, that's just wild. All right. Oh, I can see him. He's back. We are back. We are back.
I'm not sure what's going on. I can't hear you. Let me see if
you still can't hear me. Okay, he still can't hear me, y'all. Let me see here.
I still can't hear you. I don't know what's happening on my end. I'm so sorry.
No worries. Technology happens. Let me see if there's a way we can. Does it give you enough?
Can you hear me?
I can.
You can.
I can.
Nothing. Everything looks like it's functioning on my end. I'm not at all sure what's going on. Let me completely close out the app and come back in. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll be right back. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yikes.
You're good. We're going to have this conversation. We're going to have this conversation. Dark Light says, I'm so glad I wasn't raised Christian. Boy, aren't you like, right? Like, it's terrifying. Like, it's mind blowing. It's scary. I am reading his memoir and it hits hard. If anyone has a link to his memoir, I did not grab it before the show, but if you have a link, please drop it in the chat. Oh my goodness. And actually, I can do this while he's doing that. The name of it is Monsters and Phantoms. And so this is his channel right here. I have the link below on the screen so you can actually follow him there. It is on Amazon. All right. And I see him coming back in.
Oh,
can you hear me now?
I heard you a second ago.
You heard me a second ago? How about now?
Now I don't hear you again.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Oh boy, what's happening here?
Can you hear me now?
You were there, now you're not there.
And I'm just talking, so you're not going to be able to hear anything that I'm saying. I wish I can get your audio.
Check one.
Hi, Feel Good Productions. Hey, I miss you too. I hope so. It's nice to see you. So glad that you're here, man. So glad that you're here. Sounds like a soft reset on HG will fix it.
Hello, hello.
Hello. We hear you now, but can't see you. Let me do this. See, I'm telling you, this is what happens when God gets mad at you. He starts messing with your technology and stuff.
You can hear me now, but you can't see me, and I still can't hear you. All right. I don't have any clue what's happening. Let me.
Y'all give me a moment. I am typing to him. I'm typing a message to him now. HG.
Check one. Okay. I just don't know what's happening. I've used StreamYard a million times and never had an issue on my end. So I don't know if it's on my end or not.
Oh, you know what? Let's see.
If you guys can hear me, what I'm going to do is try a whole nother system. It's going to be different, a little bit of a different look than this, because I'm going to switch over to a different camera and microphone system on another computer and just see if that works. I don't know. So I'm going to try that. If you guys can hear me,
I have
we'll
to
give
work
that a
on my
shot. We're
miming.
here for you, sir. Okay. All right. So let me do that. Let me try a whole other system if you guys can hear me, and I'll be back in a minute. Let's see what happens
Awesome.
there.
Thank you. All right, so let me get back to the chat while he's doing that. Demented, I'll have to watch that. His video about cult leaders versus Jesus is damning. Peace, bro. And again, y'all, we apologize for the technological difficulties. Is that right? We're gonna roll with it. This is what happens when you're live, man. When you're live. But we're gonna get it right. We're gonna get it right. This is a sign from God that y'all shouldn't be having this conversation and need to repent. Me when I was still a Christian. That's definitely what, honestly, like, man, we can talk through the pathology, like, of being a believer, because I would have either thought this was God punishing me or the devil interrupting, you know? And so now I just understand these things are the complexity of life. Complexity of life. No repenting coming from me. I know that's right. Like, no, I have been the freest I've ever been on this side of things. And that's why I enjoy having conversations like this, because in the church world, you often hear the fluffed version, God delivered me, and all of these wonderful things happen. But when you can really get people in a place where they can be honest about their situations, you're hearing that this man was introduced to Jesus after trauma. And then after that trauma, he's introduced to Jesus in a traumatic way. Can you hear me now?
I can.
Yes, we are back in action.
I have no idea what happened there. I am so sorry.
The good news is the audience didn't drop off at all. So I am
good.
like, they're this story got them, man. This is cinematic material. So I'm gonna.
Okay.
Are you okay if I put you back front screen?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm just trying to reorient. I'm now just on my desktop computer using its camera and its audio. So hopefully it still sounds okay. It looks good enough.
Yeah, you look great, man.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we can keep going.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. All right.
Okay. Where did I leave off? Let's see. We were talking about nuclear war, okay, and then God can be a protector God. So that solidified my desire to want to really dive into Christianity, really get serious about it. And then I got very serious about it. I found there's a lot that I'm leaving out here, but I found a woman after college and after, I don't know, I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, that was a strong believer as well. We got married. We're still married today. She's still a strong believer today, even though I've deconverted. So that, you can imagine, creates some tension and conflict as well that we're still trying to sort through. But let me kind of back up. So shortly after I got married in 1998, then 1999 rolled around. You guys all remember what happened in the year 2000, or leading up to the year 2000, Y2K.
Y2K, yeah.
Yep. And so I was a strong Christian. I was playing on the worship team. You can see the keyboard behind me. I was a musician until my disease set in. That's a whole other story we'll get to. But Y2K starts coming around, and people are starting to talk about what's going to happen when the computers try to account for the year 2000. And everybody's like, wait, they weren't programmed to do so. Wait a second. Everything's going to shut down. There's going to be world chaos. There's going to be nuclear war. There's going to be financial meltdowns and economic distress across the world. And so, of course, being in a fundamentalist conservative Christian church, that became the narrative of, the end times are coming. Mm-hmm. And we can prove that they're coming, and we can back that up scripturally. And so all of a sudden, I mean, I'm decades removed from my childhood and all that, and I'm a strong Christian, and I'm just like loving Jesus. And all of a sudden, what manifested back in my mind was all the way back to when I was a kid. The end times are coming, and the end times need an antichrist. And this is where it becomes a little psychotic and delusional. I believed, I had intrusive thoughts that God was telling me that I was evil, that I wasn't really saved, I wasn't really a Christian. And the reason is because I left this out, I had developed a bit of a porn addiction, we'll call it that,
Yeah.
because the only thing that I felt actually helped my anxiety disorders was, when you have the release of cortisol and adrenaline and those harmful hormones, you try to
Ah,
balance those out with the release of dopamine and serotonin and those more beneficial hormones. And so, I found that when I was a child and a young man, looking at pornography actually helped me stabilize in the same way an alcohol or drug addiction would help an alcoholic or a drug addict stabilize through anxiety and other kind of mental health disorders and stuff like that. That's documented in the literature. That's what happens. And so anyway, but even when when I really got serious about Jesus and I got married, I said, there's no more porn, none of that. I want to live a righteous life and all that. And I had been living a righteous life, but when the year 2000 Y2K started coming around, I had these intrusive thoughts saying from God that I was evil, I was wicked. He never has forgiven me from my porn addiction. And I understand what Christians are going to say to this. He forgives. There's no condemnation for those in Christ, and this and that, and you can overcome through the Holy Spirit and this and that. But nonetheless, I had those intrusive thoughts, and the worst of them was that I am the Antichrist. The end times need an Antichrist, and God said, "You are the Antichrist." And I went into an absolute mental health tailspin of complete anxiety, panic attacks, intrusive thoughts from about when I first learned about Y2K, somewhere in like late 1998, all the way through 1999 and right up to the year 2000. And the only thing that helped me was year 2000 rolled in and there wasn't world chaos. And I was like, oh, maybe this wasn't right. Maybe God wasn't telling me I was the Antichrist because the end of the world is not upon us now. And so what I did from there is I doubled down on Christianity as if that could even be possible. I was already such a strong Christian, right? And I was like, somehow, some way, I had let Satan into my mind. You know the scripture, Durante, that says, once you sweep the house clean, be
yes.
careful, or 7 more demons, more
Come
stronger
back
than the
stronger.
first, are going to come back. And I was like, I'm not going to let that happen. I doubled down and I committed to like, Lord, what do you want me to do to serve you in this world? I will drop everything and do whatever it is. And he told me music, right? He's like, I want you to go be a musician for Christ. I want you to go preach the gospel through your music. And so I did. I was already a musician and I pursued a music career. I led a music ministry. I helped lead worship at my church, pretty big church in my hometown. And music then took over my life for a while until, and again, I'm leaving a lot out here, but just trying to hit the highlights. We're going to fast forward to 2011. Okay, so 11 years after Y2K. I am on fire for Christ. I'm playing music. I got things going on. And all of a sudden I realized I wasn't able to play as well as I used to be able to play. Like I was missing notes. We had big shows that we were gearing up to do, an opening act for a big major national Christian act. And I was rehearsing with my band and I couldn't play very well. Things like I was missing notes and I just didn't feel like I had the dexterity and control of my fingers playing the keys like I used to be able to do. And I started getting very, very discouraged. And I started praying, like, Lord, what is going on? Am I still sinning in some way that you're taking away my ability to play?
Yeah.
Have I made music an idol? And then that became in my OCD mind, that became the thing I started ruminating on, like, oh my gosh, I have somehow elevated my love for music above my love for Christ. Music became a golden calf. Music became the pursuit at all costs instead of Jesus becoming the pursuit or remaining the pursuit at all costs for me. And so I believe the Lord, through either demonic possession or through his own whatever, curses, wrath, whatever, was stripping me of my ability to play. And I became very discouraged. The opening act for the National Christian Music Act fell apart. It was through my church. And my church said, oh, we read the rider wrong. They don't allow opening acts for this major National Christian Act. So you guys can't. They had already advertised us on the radio saying that we're going to open up for this big name. And, there were posters all over town. But then 2 weeks before the show, they had to pull the plug and tell us we couldn't do it. And that became another thing. I'm like, oh, this is certainly God's wrath. I can't play well anymore, and I don't know why. And now the plug has been pulled on what was going to be the most opportunistic gig we had ever played as a band before in terms of exposure. And that was all done. And so I went into another mental tailspin thinking God was angry with me. And shortly after all that, I started experiencing some hip pain and some other things going on in my body. And I went to see an orthopedic specialist, and it was determined that I had a rare neuromuscular disease called Charcot-Marie-Tooth. Most people have never heard of it. It's 3 French guys. And it was causing, you can see my hands, how sinewy, and there's no muscle here, and there's just no muscle in my hands anymore. And my fingers are all craggly and whatever. My legs are that way too, like below my knees. I wear leg braces and stuff. Anyway, out of the blue, I'm 39 years old at the time. I was diagnosed with this rare neuromuscular disease. Now, as a good Christian, as you can imagine, I immediately went to the scriptures and I said, what is this disease? Why do I have it, God? Why did you give it to me? Did you allow me to have it? Did you cause it, orchestrate it, whatever? What is it you want me to know from this? And how is it you want me to grow from this? And I poured through the scriptures like I never had before, searching for answers, searching for what God was trying to teach me. And of course, that led me right to Deuteronomy 28, the second half of it, where God starts talking about to the Israelites, here's what I will do to you if you are disobedient. And one of the things in the zillion verses about all his curses and everything he's going to do is he will strike the people with wasting diseases. Now, some interpretations say inflammation, and some people think it's tuberculosis or whatever. But wasting diseases is a common interpretation. What I have is a wasting disease, meaning muscle atrophy. Yeah. And when I read that, and I had read it before years ago. I'd read the Bible a couple times at least, if not more, and New Testament many, 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 many times. And I didn't remember that until I was searching for, diseases. Why does God give diseases? And that's when I went right back to Y2K kind of mental thinking, like, oh, God is upset with me. I did make music an idol. Oh, I did. God still hates me for what I was doing with porn all those years ago, even though I had given it up, because the thoughts never left. You know what I'm saying? You see a beautiful woman and immediately the thought comes into your mind. I'm like, oh God, I didn't want to think that. Oh God, forgive me. And I would beat myself up over those thoughts. But anyway, this was God trying to tell me, I've had enough of you. I gave you music and look what you did with it. I gave you a wife and you still have inappropriate sexual thoughts toward other women. And now you have this disease. And the disease isn't, by the way, discipline. The disease is a curse. It's wrath. It's punishment. It is me telling you that I'm done with you. And so I again believed I was evil. And this time again, I believed that God had made me to be the Antichrist. And this was 2011. And I went into such a mental tailspin of panic attacks and anxiety and just absolute, like, just shivering naked on my living room floor at 3 a.m. night after night after night, crying, begging God not to reject me, begging God to take me back, to heal me of my disease, to heal me of my mental turmoil, the intrusive thoughts. If they were Satan and demons attacking me, to drive them away. I didn't know why they would be. I felt like I was protected by the blood of Christ. Or if it was God, like, I was willing to do whatever it took to restore myself to his good graces. So again, I tripled down on being a Christian, but that only lasted a short while, because I had to either, and this is it, right? This is the end of my deconversion story. And then we can get into other things. I had to examine what I believed, because, and again, trigger warning to your viewers, I was on the precipice of suicide. I couldn't breathe each day. I couldn't focus each day. I had lost so much weight. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was taking anxiety meds and depression meds. None of it was strong enough to overpower the demonic influence or God's wrath or whatever you want to call it. And so that's when I said, I somehow had the strength to say, why do I believe what I believe? And I had a good friend who used to be a Christian. I didn't know at the time he had deconverted, but I confessed to him what was going on, and I didn't know he had already deconverted. And he said, "Man, I'm going to partner with you on this, and we're gonna get to the bottom of it." And he started asking me like questions. He's like, "Have you ever really thought through these doctrines and these biblical narratives? I want you to think about them and write out your answers in journals, write out your thoughts in journals." And it started with me, going, what is an antichrist? Why do we need an antichrist in the biblical narrative? Like, an antichrist is somebody who God raises to power, yet in Romans, God tells us that we have to obey our authorities. If not, he will curse us for not doing it. And so I'm like, wait a minute. He raises an antichrist to power according to the traditions, right? And we're supposed to obey that antichrist, even as Christians. That doesn't make any sense. And once I started pulling on that thread, it became, why do we need a Satan? Why is there a Satan in the biblical narrative? Like, what does all this mean? Why did God either create him? Why did he allow him dominion over the earth along with the fallen angels? Then, the whole third of the angels fell with Satan, and God gave him dominion over the earth narrative. That's kind of maybe supported in the Bible if you squint at it just right. But that was the narrative that fundamental conservative Christianity taught. And it was Satan in the garden that deceived Eve and all that stuff. And so, I started pulling on the threads of, hang on a second. The only reason we have a Satan is because God allows it. Why would God perpetuate, sustain, and give access to us, our hearts and minds, his sworn enemy, his nemesis? That makes no sense. This God is love. This God is compassion, mercy, grace, and all these things. Why? He can't tolerate sin. Why do we have a Satan? Why do we need a Satan? And so, there's a lot more I could say about that, but that was the thread that I started pulling on. And once I started looking at scripture to let me see if I can find the answers in scripture. Durante, you know this. That's when that's when the lights came on. And I was like, oh shit, none of this makes sense. None of it adds up. None of it can be reconciled. Oh my God, what have I done for 25 years? And what have I done putting myself through the agony of religious trauma when none of this is even real? Then that was all private investigation of scripture on my own. And then after that, once I gave myself permission to say, I don't know about this, wait a second, then I started actually engaging with atheist conversations and counter apologetics and positions on scripture that I only read apologetic materials. I only read materials that presuppositionally affirmed my faith, and all that. And so once I started actually looking out into the world, like Dan Barker, Christopher Hitchens, and all those guys in the new atheist movement, and I started seeing that they had already come to the same conclusions that I did about just the irreconcilable incongruencies in scripture. I was like, oh, people think about this stuff. People have written about this stuff. Now I know Durante too has written about this stuff, and so that's when I felt affirmed to go, okay. I had isolated myself in a Christian bubble of confirmation bias for 25 years. And now it was time to actually avail myself to the literature, to the scholarship around what actually is this. And for me, we can look at the history, the archaeological research, the sociological research and around the development of Christianity, all the stuff you so brilliantly talk about on your channel. And I love your videos, and I love the research, and I love the insights that you provide. To me, all that's fair game, but that wasn't it for me. To me, it was more the philosophical side of, why does God create or perpetuate, sustain, and allow his nemesis to exist and have, dominion over the earth and over our hearts and minds. And from that narrative sprang just about everything else, I talk about on my channel. And so for me, it was more of the sort of the philosophical thought process that, led me to where I am today. I love talking about unfulfilled prophecy. Your video on the Good Samaritan is still one of my all-time favorite videos, and I love learning more about. Wait a minute, what does it mean when it says God so loved the world? What does it mean when it says love your neighbor as yourself? And it's not what obviously fundamental conservative contemporary Christianity, evangelical Christianity says it means. So it's a long way of giving you my deconversion story
No,
and hitting the highlights, but there we are.
dude, I mean, it's amazing. I have quite a few people in our audience, in our community, who didn't grow up religious.
Yeah.
And so they only know the harms of religion based off of its logical fallacies,
Yes.
based off of its flaws.
Yes,
But
and
like,
that's fair.
you're exposing people to some of the deeper harm that it
Yes.
caused, some of the things that most people don't think of. One thing that came to my mind is just how much, even I forget, even with all of the critique that I do, how much of the message of Christianity is God's fatal judgment against humanity.
Yeah.
And I thought back to a time, and this was in my latter years of pastoring, I literally preached a message called "Now I Gotta Kill You."
Oh,
And
wow.
and it was based
Wow.
off of Adam and Eve. It was like, okay, now you've messed up. Now I got to kill you. And the whole point of the gospel is to protect God from having to kill what he loves. And it's just like hearing your story, because you kind of ask yourself, like, why would this young man who's trying to serve the Lord
Mm-hmm.
think that God is trying to harm him? Why would he think that God is trying to punish him this way? And it's like, well, when you look at the book, that's kind of the way this character behaves from day damn one,
Right. Or in the Christian's mind, it's because I never was a true Christian to believe with. And so I came at Christianity through a fear-based indoctrination versus a love-based indoctrination. And so I got it in my mind that God is a wrathful, angry, judgmental, murderous God. And I'm like, I didn't get that in my mind because I made that up, as you
Right.
said. It's page one.
Like, God is the first person to sacrifice an animal. Like,
Exactly.
I think people overlook that. Like, he's like, okay, these people have eaten my fruit and pissed me off, so now I got to go kill an animal to give y'all some clothes. It was like, what the heck? Like, the leaves were.
Yes.
So,
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, because you mentioned the idea of thinking you were the Antichrist. How long? How many times? How consistent was that idea for you? How persistent was it? How long did it stay
There
with
were
you?
2 episodes in my life. One was the Y2K episode, and I'll say it came in somewhere, we'll call it June 1998,
Okay.
where that intrusive thought got into my mind. And by the way, I've had people on my comment on my video say I had the same fear.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, and we'll get to scrupulosity in a second. But so from 1998 until right at the year 2000, when it sort of just all disappeared because I was like, oh, I guess the world isn't ending. I guess maybe I'm not the Antichrist. What a stupid thing I was thinking. How could I even think that? Right. And so I dismissed it. And then it came back again in 2011 when I was diagnosed with my rare neuromuscular disease, and that was, God, you're evil. You are the Antichrist, man. You're so rotten and wicked and wretched and evil that you're the Antichrist. And that lasted until about sometime in 2013, when I was like, wait a minute, the Satan narrative, hang on a second. And that's when I started to pull out of that skid. So 1998 so all in all, that Antichrist narrative, I don't know, added up four-ish years.
Wow.
4-ish years of my life. I say my religious trauma was 5 to 6 years of my life, because not all of it was on the Antichrist. That sort of developed over time. But anyway, so 5 to 6 years of my life was in severe religious trauma. About 4 of those years, imagine as a Christian, you're waking up every day going, "I'm the Antichrist." Oh my God, I can't believe I can't. It's actually an egotistical thing to say. I was very ashamed, even from like who do you think you are, dude? You're just a dude living in a small town. You have a master's degree and all that. It's not like you're some political leader. You're not anything that the Antichrist is depicted to be. Why would you? I get how irrational and how stupid and how silly it is, and even how unreal it is. But that's what religious trauma is.
Absolutely.
Nobody ever said religious trauma. Oh, it's rational. Of course, we understand why. I mean, I have, um, I have a whole model of cognitive research that I've built that says, here's what here's what religious trauma is. Here's who it's most likely to happen to.
Hmm.
Well, let me rephrase. Here's what it is. Here's how it happens. Here's who it's most likely to happen to, and here's what we can do about it if it does happen. And so
Yeah.
here's what who it's most likely to happen to. I have a whole model that I've built out about being an empath, being a hypersensitive personality, being hyper fantastic in terms of your imagination, being an OCD ruminating thinker, prone to scrupulosity. We've taught you, I know you know what that term is, and your viewers
Yeah.
probably do too. If you're a melancholic temperament, or a phlegmatic or choleric or whatever, if you're an Enneagram 4, 9, or there's different Enneagrams. If you rate this way on the Myers-Briggs type indicator test, you know what I'm talking about there with the
Yeah.
Myers thing. So I've
ISNFJ.
kind of put all the, if you grew up in a high control, family dynamic where might have been some attachment disorders and things like that. So there's like all these different pieces that you can string together. And if you had adverse childhood experiences like sexual or physical abuse, and then you were indoctrinated into a high control, fundamentalist, doesn't even have to be a fundamentalist brand of Christianity. It could be even a progressive brand of, as long as the hell narrative exists within that book and the original sin narrative and the unpardonable sin exists within the Bible, you can experience religious trauma. And so anyway, I showed this whole flow chart and I put it all together to say, this is most likely the type of person who's going to experience religious trauma. And I'm talking with researchers to say, does this make sense? Is this a model that we can use? And
Yeah.
so far the early returns are, yeah, it looks good. We might tweak this or tweak that, but it's a developing model around religious trauma that I hope one day sees itself in the bona fide peer-reviewed scholarship on this.
Yeah. It would be incredible because we need it.
We do need
And
it. It's not there. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you do share that part of your story, though, because like I said, I could imagine, like you kind of said, you were shocked to find that others felt that way, that,
Yeah.
I might be the Antichrist. But I know I went through that at least 3 times.
You did?
Yes. Once, which it started for me, it wasn't at first, it wasn't even an internal thought. It was an external thought.
Okay.
Thought. I was going to a small holiness church and I was just asking too many questions. And the leaders of that church started saying I had the spirit of the Antichrist.
Oh, wow.
And it got so bad that they literally kicked me out of the church. And I didn't understand. And I was like, well, maybe there is something wrong with me. And I had a lady tell me it's because you ask too many questions. That's demonic. And so later years, I was right back there. But there's a show, it went off the air a few years ago called The Righteous Gemstones. And that's actually one of the story arcs where one of the children began to feel that himself. He was like, well, maybe if I'm not Jesus, maybe I am the Antichrist. Yeah. And that, I think that phenomenon is worthy of deeper exploration. Because it's just like, I remember when you shared it when we were in Virginia. And I was thinking, wow, someone else has experienced that. Which, kind of knocked me off my high horse a little bit. And I thought I was only important enough to be the Antichrist,
That's why I said it's like, it's almost egotistical. It's like
yes,
to think that. And I even felt ashamed for thinking it when I was thinking it. I was like, I'm so sorry, Lord. This has got to be just my ego, my pride and my ego, which you hate as well. This is why I'm so evil. And it wasn't until I worked up the courage, man. I was so terrified. I worked up the courage to just Google fear of being the Antichrist, and the word scrupulosity popped up, and I saw mental health therapists that deal with this in people, and I was like, oh shit, it's not just me. Yes. It's not just me. And that was, to know you're not alone, right? You know that I know this. To know you're not alone is one of the best panaceas, best therapies that we can provide anybody, which is why this conversation here is so important. I just want to go back to what you said a second ago, just to kind of put a pin on this. The idea that, I drew out on one of my videos, I drew out a pie chart and I said, people are attacking Christianity through, the scientific through science, through archaeology, through sociology, through, failed prophecy, through all these other things. But where we're not really attacking Christianity is through the mental harm of it,
Yes.
as much.
Yes.
And so I was like, I drew a little piece of pie that said religious trauma in there, and I'm like, that's the role I'm trying to fill. I mean, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
There's other creators out there that are doing great job. Apology. I mean, we can list 1,000 of them right now that are
Absolutely.
that all have their niches and how they are, attacking Christianity, providing counter apologetics. So I think if every one of those creators, and you do a great job of it, you have a real good handle on what this is. If every one of them added, but there's also religious trauma to their sort of talking points and to their repertoire, man, I do think we'll get a lot further
Yes.
in this conversation, because it's too easy for somebody to say, Gary Habermas, I can prove the resurrection, and Paulo G is saying, no, you can't, and all they're just battling each other. I'm like, that's great, and we need that. But hang on, there's also religious trauma, and Gary Habermas's minimal facts or minimal whatever his thing is, like, has nothing to say about the mental and emotional harm that Christianity causes. I have something to say. Durrani has something to say about that. So let's get that part of the conversation equally out there. And I know our film, which we'll probably talk about, is going to help with that.
Yes.
But conversations like this help with that too. So I appreciate
that's a great point. It's like it's not just a big deal because it's wrong. It's a big deal because it's harmful.
Exactly.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'd argue the harm part is even worse than
it's worse. Yes, yes. I can handle somebody believing in purple unicorns if it's not damaging them mentally. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And the other thing is this, that I want your viewers to know too, is that talking about religious trauma. So I'm hoping to normalize it. I know you are too, and that's what this conversation is all about. Like, let people hear that, hey, there's conversations about it, and it's okay to talk about it. Talking about religious trauma is akin to talking about childhood sexual abuse. You know the studies. I know the studies. Most people are not going to report that they were sexually abused as children. There's stigma about that. There's taboos against that. There's embarrassment. There's shame. There's guilt. There's fear. I don't want to really, even if it's anonymous, I don't want it to come back to me, because boy, then I'm going to get questioned about it, and then I may have to reveal some dark secrets about my family that are going to get people in trouble. I mean, so there's all this stigma around talking about childhood sexual abuse. I contend that the same stigmas exist around talking around religious trauma. Do you think how many times did you walk into your church or to your pastors and elders and go, I'm having fears that I'm the Antichrist. I think I have the spirit of the Antichrist in me. Did you ever like, hey, this is the thing, let's talk about, let's do a Bible study around? I never did. Nobody in my church, nobody in my Christian network knew how much I was suffering through my religious trauma. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed to say it. I felt like if I talked about it, you know how people say, well, if you bring that out into the open, you're giving Satan and demons a foothold in that. So you better just keep it in your mind where it belongs, right? There was even some of that narrative. And so people don't talk about it. They don't know how to talk about it. The studies show that 1 in 5 Americans have experienced religious trauma symptoms. 1 in 4 Americans have dealt with religious trauma over the years. There's a study out there that I reference in a lot of my videos. And I would say those numbers are even higher because so many people, it goes underreported. It's not understood. When you say religious trauma, most people don't know what that means. Like we have a good working definition of it now. I'm sorry, man. I'm just like gushing right now.
No, this is good.
I'm excited to talk to you about this.
Yes.
So like most pastors, as you know, think religious trauma is church hurt, right?
Yeah.
It's not church hurt. Many episodes of church hurt might lead somebody to religious trauma, but religious trauma are not discrete episodes of church hurt. It's not just you had your ego hurt or your feelings hurt because somebody disagreed with your interpretation of doctrine. That's not religious trauma. It's a prolonged, sustained awareness of fear and anxiety that is debilitating and has effects on your social, sexual, mental, physical life in a chronic kind of way. And that's what we're talking about with religious trauma.
Man, that's such a good point. And and just to kind of add to that, I think so many times we think about religious trauma as if it only impacts you when you're still in the religion. But
Correct.
one of the things that I've been seeing over, especially over the last year or so, is there are many people who are fully out of the religion but are still living with the trauma because they
Yes.
don't have a language for it, they don't have an understanding for it, and many
Yes.
times it keeps them kind of stuck in those wounds, and it is definitely something that's highly concerning for me. Um,
Yes.
my
And
my
on,
my next no, go ahead, go
well,
ahead.
just on that note, what happens is people, even if they've left the religion, they still, their trauma, it's somatic, right? It exists in their
Mhm.
body because subconsciously they're still afraid that what if they're wrong, right?
Yeah,
What if hell does exist? What if God is angry? I can't prove that it doesn't exist. I can't prove that God, and so even though they say they've deconverted, they've walked away. I've experienced this. They're
yeah,
still, because I'm still surrounded. I still my
yeah.
Christian network still thinks I'm a believer, and I don't walk around. People don't know me as what you know me as. And that's on purpose, right? I'm protecting my family. I'm protecting other things in my life right now, and so I don't just parade this stuff around, except for on my
Right.
YouTube channel and conversations with you, and so yeah, because I mean, this country, this world is not ready to release people of
Yeah.
their fear of hell. You know how many you get it to all the Christian comments I get about how I'm going to rot in hell, how I'm so
Yep.
deceived, how I'm so blinded. I've done videos on this. Satan's got a hold of me and this and that. It's like, even if you say like I've been traumatized and I've deconverted from Christianity, this world, our culture will not let that go. Will
Yeah.
constantly remind you how wrong you are, and how you got it coming to you. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've received comments where like Christians have said, I'm gonna ask God for a special seat to see when you get, cast down to hell. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
you feel proud about saying that, do you?
Yep. I've gotten it too. I've gotten it
Man,
too. And I've gotten the Christians that mean so well and like, man, HG, I'm really praying for you, really rooting for you. I'm so sorry you got caught up in some bad teaching. Like, they mean so well. I'm like, that's not what this is. That's not
yeah,
what this is. And I
yeah,
explained that this is not what this is. And you guys just don't get it. Like, it's so frustrating when they don't get it. But we
absolutely.
got to just keep talking about it. We just got to keep talking about
Got to
it.
get it
So
out there,
yeah, and yeah.
I mean, I think about it like when soldiers were coming back
Yep.
with PTSD, and for the longest we weren't
Yes.
talking about it, so we didn't know how to
Yes.
respond to it. We didn't know how
Yes.
to help.
Yes. What a great point. I'm so glad you brought that up, because Christians will acknowledge war combat trauma. They'll
Hmm.
acknowledge sexual or domestic violence trauma. They'll say
Hmm.
all that's real, and PTSD and CPSD that result from those things. We legitimize that. But we're
Yes.
not ever going to say that a God who threatens you to eternal conscious torment could ever be traumatizing. I mean, because there's Jesus. Oh, and by the way, Jesus could also reject you, and that could be, sentence you to hell as well. That could be traumatizing. They will never legitimize the PTSD that comes from the fear of God, or the fears that result from religion. In the same way, they'll legitimize trauma in every other case. I've had people tell me stop crying victim. I've had people,
Mm,
like, um, say some very offensive things that I'm like, you would never say that if my channel were about domestic violence abuse, and you
come
came on
on.
and said stop. Would you ever come on and say stop crying victim? If I was a war veteran talking about my experience in Iran, and how I was traumatized by the bombs going off and seeing my friends blown up, would you dare tell
Right.
tell somebody like that, like, get over it, man? Everybody has trauma in their life. Just move past it. Follow Jesus, and He'll heal that for you. Is that really
Come
what we
on.
do to people? Yeah. So I'm so glad you brought that up. All right, go, bro.
Yes. So, okay. So from the ages of 7 to 8 to around roughly 39, 40,
Yeah.
what kept you in for so long? What really kept you there?
So what really kept me in is I really believed, right? I really, yes, there was the initial fear-based indoctrination to Christianity, and of course toward the end there was all the religious trauma. But in between that, I learned to have a wonderful relationship with Jesus Christ, I and God and Christianity in general. There, you know this. There was community, there
Yeah.
was affirmation, there
Yeah.
was blessing, there was. Remember, I had a porn. I would call it a porn addiction. And when I really committed my life to Jesus, I was married. Of course, now I'm also married, so I had a wonderful relate. You know what I'm saying? I had an outlet, if you will. Um, I overcame that porn addiction. It was not a part of my life. I still had thoughts, and the thoughts would still attack me from time to time. But in practice, that was behind me now. And so I attributed that to the power of Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit in my life. And so I saw benefit. Music was a big thing, as you know, and so I
Yeah.
was playing, and doors were opening musically for me. We won a McDonald's Gospel Fest in Jacksonville, and that was exciting. And opportunities to play here and there and record music with and have pretty well-known national Christian artists, musicians working with me and providing bass tracks for my music and respecting what I was doing and stuff like that. And so I really believed God was, and I was on the beach and I saw a vision come down from heaven, and God said, I want you to take your music to the world and minister to the people through my music. I believe that was real. It's all documented in my memoir. That stuff was awesome, Durante. You know that, right? I mean,
Yes, indeed.
when you are conditioned to believe the Holy Spirit's in you, and the lights and the sound and the prayers and the ritual work, because they do
Mhm.
work, right? You know
Yeah.
this. Like we
Yeah.
understand the psychology behind that. That stuff does
Absolutely.
have power, and it does influence. And I allowed myself full on to just let that stuff wash over me, and I loved it, and I was strong for Christ, and I was a warrior for Christ, and I was a musician for Christ. And people would say, well, I had visions of Jesus standing at the foot of my bed just watching over me, saying, I got you, man, don't worry about that. And I believe those were real. I now realize those were delusions. But they were wonderful when they had, man, tears of joy,
Absolutely.
weeping, seeing other people saved, like witnessing to people and seeing them respond to Jesus Christ. I had my sister-in-law tell me that the reason she became a Christian is because she was watching me and my wife for years and how we conducted ourselves. And she said, I want to be like that, beyond reproach. And other people said that too. And so, man, when you have all these inputs coming at you, it's a no-brainer to say, this is what it is to live in the presence of God and have the Holy Spirit empowering you to live this life. And so, yeah, damn, if that disease just didn't come along, maybe I'd still be in it. I don't know.
Wow. Wow. That's
What
real.
what kept you in? I
You
mean,
know,
you were a pastor, so you had
yes,
a presence, and yeah.
I developed very on what I'll call kind of loosely a persecution complex.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had the visions that were like, beautiful Jesus looking over me. I had the visions of Jesus being crucified and saying stuff like, if you want your mother to be saved, you have to go down this route.
Man.
So
Yeah.
it's like the worse things got for me, the more I served him. But the language was there, because even in Exodus, I remember reading, the more they beat them, the more they multiplied.
Yeah.
Very much like you, I went into some very hyper delusional stages. I can remember in 9th grade, I had this vision of my body laying on some type of slab and
Yeah.
something just hitting my head and hitting my legs. But the more bloody my body became, the more glory came from my body. And so what kept
Wow.
me in
Yeah.
was that all of this persecution and all of these experiences is proof that God is using you in a special way.
Yeah.
And because I'm very charismatic and highly autistic, I could pick up on things in services and stuff that made me feel prophetic, people were calling me an apostle at 17 years old.
Yeah.
And so I thought my tension with the doctrine was really the devil versus God. And that my life was in the middle of this grand, big fight. And I had to stay on that side. And so it wasn't until I got my first degree where I was finally able to start kind of thinking about everything objectively. And then also just realizing like, ooh, whoa, all of these things that I'm calling powerful are actually not. They're weak, like my superpower is that I can make people cry. Like that's not a really good superpower, Like, and if that's all I'm getting out of this, if that's all I'm getting out of this pain and suffering is the ability to make people fall down when the right music is playing, then I don't know if this is actually the route I need to be going, especially in a community that actually does need power. And that was really it broke through my cognitive dissonance just watching literally not even just my community as the Black community as a whole, but the community that I lived in, that I was a part of. Learning sociology allowed me to kind of track like, whoa, we've been doing this for a long time and we've not been getting better, we've been getting worse. And so at that moment, people telling me scripture couldn't be proven, people telling me that God was not real, none of that mattered because I still believed that it was helpful. But the moment that I started seeing the harm in it, it was impossible to stay in.
Yeah.
Like when I first deconverted, I technically was still a theist. I just no longer had need for it anymore. And that was like one of my last prayers to God, is that like, hey, if you want to do something, that's on you, but I can no longer put a religious belief before what I'm seeing in real time.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching people get harmed by that.
Yeah.
But it was definitely that persecution complex that kept me in there, man.
Wow. Yeah, with my music too. You know this, you're a musician.
Yes.
You get lost in the emotional release of music, right? And
goodness.
so I would sit down, this is when I could play before my disease, and this is what led me to not be able to play anymore, was my disease. But before all that really took over, I would just sit at the piano and play for hours and just chant to Jesus, just rehearse scriptures to Jesus, and just like fill my soul, fill my heart, give me a new song. And all of a sudden, oh, there's a little melody, there's a little chord progression there. That's got a nice groove to it. And within 20 minutes, I'd have a new song, scripturally based, and I'd share that song with friends and family, and they would tell me things like, the way you write songs, the lyrics in your songs, it's like you're preaching straight scripture. It's not, there's no ego in it. There's no, there's no anecdotes. There's no real story. It's just about affirming people in Christ. It's just straight scripture. You've got a real gift, right? So people telling you you've got the gift of XYZ, boy, there's that. When told to the right person, man, that can.
Oh man, yes. And then just even as a creative, just having somewhere to do that at, like I constantly tell people, like when I was a believer, almost any day of the week, I could find other musicians and say, hey, let's meet up at the church and jam out. Let's have a shed session. Let's write some music together. Let's go worship. And it was just I just got back to writing music like last year.
Yes.
I've
heard your stuff and love it.
Yeah, man. It took me a while to get back there because I felt like that was gone now. And then last year sometime I started thinking, after we did the Virginia thing, after we were in Charlottesville and we had the songwriting session with Shelly. And I was like, you know what? I can still write. And on the way back on the plane, I just put my earbuds in and just challenge myself. Let's sit here and see if you can write something. And that was I wrote a song called Living My Life. I was living my life in the servitude of misunderstandings of people I loved. And I was like, oh man, I think we're back at it. and that's actually something we've started doing as a community now. So like now when people come to our channel, they can hear some of our music before stuff. Our community is now having writing sessions as well. And we're getting to that place where they're going to be doing their own thing, which is absolutely beautiful. Because man, music is a part of who we are as a species, and I don't I love some of the stuff that's out there, but I like joke music, I like antagonizing music. That's fun, but that's not why I got into music. I didn't get into music because of Mad TV or Saturday Night Live. I got into music because it spoke to me. I got into music because it lifted me up, like you said, it affirmed. And so I'm like, why as secular people does all of our music has to be poking fun at somebody else? Why can't it be lifting up people without the superstition? And so that's become like a major thing, which does kind of lead me to my next question.
Sure.
what's keeping you going now without God? Like it would be easy for
Whew.
you to just like go back and pretend like, hey, it was a mistake. I love Jesus again.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows. No foul, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
Like what's
Right.
keeping you going without God as your core driver anymore?
This partly what we're doing here, right, is connecting with
Wow.
people and being able to share our stories together, being able to affirm each other and in just our shared human experience, right? That I underestimated the value of the human experience as a Christian because you don't put any value, or at least I was taught not to put
Ooh,
any
that's so
value
good.
in the human experience, right? In
Yes.
fact, it was wrong to put value in the human experience, and so you had to look externally for your value and for your meaning. And even then, and I've done videos on this, like there is nothing good about you. The only thing good about you is if you're a Christian is Jesus Christ, right? Your
Yeah.
talents don't matter,
Come
your
on.
personality doesn't matter, your authenticity doesn't matter, your value, none of that matters. What matters is Jesus Christ living through you and conforming you to him, his
Hmm.
values,
Yep.
his personality, whatever, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And there
That's
becomes
it.
this homogeneity
I
within
must
at least
decrease so that
yeah,
he can
that's
increase.
right. That's right. And so once I realized I can have my own autonomy and my own agency, and I can express what I need to express in the way that I want to express it, and I don't have to censor myself because of that. That became a human experience value that I didn't know
Hmm.
could help sustain me. Now,
Yes.
so yeah, you and I know meaning and purpose can be found from within, and
Yes.
we can create that meaning and purpose in our own lives. And it is true, and that does happen. I will be the first one to admit, man, it kind of the idea of an eternal afterlife still is appealing. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not in the version of heaven that the Bible portrays. I've done videos on why heaven is traumatic. You know, why heaven can create religious trauma. You know, if you don't think about it too much, it can be a wonderful thing to think about, right? That's a
Yeah.
weird way to say that, but so what keeps me going is like you, man. I'm on the hunt. I'm on the constant prowl, the constant hunt for shared, lived human experience. And I'm even going to say the word, and I don't care, a transcendent
Yeah.
experience. And
Yeah.
I don't mean that's the God of the Bible transcendent.
Come
I am
on.
totally fine. If there is a creator of
Hmm.
existence, I can't explain. I mean, I've heard all the cosmological and scientific explanations and abiogenesis, and you've done stuff on that. I can talk about it. I can, and it still doesn't satisfy me, right?
Hmm.
It satisfies parts of my curiosity, but ultimately in my root, right, it doesn't. I still want there to be something bigger,
Yeah.
something that uh, can we know that thing? Can we commune with that thing? Is that thing interested in not just us but forming relationships among us and stuff like that? I'm okay with saying maybe,
Come
probably, and
on.
I'm still like searching for that. And
Absolutely.
to be honest, I think we all are searching for that,
Yeah.
and some of us have defined it through Christianity or Islam or Buddhism or Hinduism or whatever else. And so the search continues for me, and I still find it right now with you. Like I'm finding
Hmm.
that value, and it matters and it means something. Yeah, I wrestle with nihilism. Yeah, I wrestle with depression. Yeah, I wake up some days and I'm like, is this really all there is? Like this, there can't be. Man, Christianity did provide some semblance of an answer to that, and I
Yeah.
I do sort of miss that, just like we might miss community. And I love what you're doing to build community. But what keeps me going is not having the answers, but questing and hunting for the
I
answers.
love that. Yeah. I love that because I think for me, once I realized that the answers I had were not sufficient,
Yeah.
um, it was more freeing for me because it was like, "Ooh, now I don't have to depend on these idiots anymore. Like I
Hmm.
can finally see what that is."
Hmm.
And it's just like now we can actually search for the answers. But I
Yeah.
do like the way love the way you frame this because I think sometimes there is a disconnect where we think many believers are connected because of truth claims.
Yeah.
And I think most believers are connected because of transformative experiences.
Yeah.
They are there, they are having these wonderful experiences. And church does
Yes.
an incredible job of monopolizing language to
Mhm.
say, like, every experience you have at the church, there's nothing human about it. This is God's doing. This is God's moving. This is God's hand. This is the Spirit. This was God's plan. Instead of realizing, like, no, this is what happened when you get people together with similar understandings,
Yep.
with similar values, and they
Yes.
share that with each other. These are
Yes.
all like human possibilities that allow us to tap in. Like, we may use different language. Like, I love the way you said transcended. And I recognize some people on this side of the community don't like language like that.
Yes.
It's like,
Or
oh,
spirituality.
or
Yeah.
spiritualized, like, oh no, don't say that. And I'm like, well, like, I like my gumbo with sausage, you like your gumbo with crawfish. It don't really matter, as long as I'm not like, no, like, I personally, I don't have a problem when people use words like
Right.
spiritual. I don't have a problem when people use words like transcendence.
Mhm.
I may interpret it differently. Someone
Correct.
else may say something, I believe there's something bigger than us. And for them, I know I may think I know what they mean, but I know what I mean, and I can agree. I do believe there's something bigger than us. To me, I just quantify it through sociological mechanics.
Yeah. Right.
But someone
Right.
else may quantify it through psychological mechanics, but someone else who does not have that language, it's just feel good for me. Like, I don't know what it
That's
is.
right.
It feels good. And I'm okay with that. Like,
That's right.
I'm a foodie. I love food. All right. There are plenty of things that I eat that I have no clue what's in there. That doesn't make it less enjoyable for me.
That's right.
Not one bit. I don't know the truth claims of this potato salad, but damn, it's good. And that's how I hope we can get to that type of balanced place where we do let people have their experiences. Because to me, I feel like
Yeah.
that is going to the other extreme. And my thing is, I want people to be able to be authentic. And authenticity isn't us arriving to the same conclusion. Authenticity isn't even us being in the same space on the journey.
Come on. Mhm.
You may get
Yes.
to this point where you say, hey, well, there's absolute nothing. Well, if I borrow your confidence, you've kicked me off my journey. I can't borrow your confidence. I got to learn it on my own. And that might be 3 years down the road for me, or it may
Yeah.
not come at all. It may not even be a necessary pursuit in my life. And so I love the fact that you threw that word in there. I think we need more talk like that. I think these are places where we're missing the boat on reaching a larger audience. And I'm a firm believer, and I've been saying this for probably 2 years now, that I think there's a large percentage of people who are sitting in harmful theology simply because they do not have a better option. I can't
Yep.
go hang out
Yep.
with the atheist, because the moment I hang out with them,
Yep.
if I say the wrong thing, they're going to be just as purity culture as the church folks are. So at least I'll stay here where the food and the music is better.
Yeah. What's the phrase? It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't, or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
I believe that's true. And then there's fear tied up in that as well. I fear what may happen if I associate with this group over here
Mhm.
that may have a different way of describing things. Because what if they're wrong, or what if they
Yeah.
influence me in a way that I find out later that I think is wrong. Yeah. I love your phrases, man. Borrow your confidence. Like,
Yes.
I listen to your videos and I'm like, good God, that's so beautifully poetic the way you've said that. And I'm like, and you do it like 100 times in every video. And I feel like you release 2 videos a day. I don't know how many. I can't keep up. I'm like, oh man, another video about Durante. I got it. And when am I going to find out the concept? But I do. And I'm like, God dang it, are you good? At the way you just so simply and beautifully and eloquently described. I'm just bragging on you for a minute, my friend.
Man, I'll take it.
Because it is so good. And I'm like, no wonder you were such a good pastor. Like,
Man.
just knowing you from after your pastor days, I'm like, I can totally see how you excelled in that way, and how that occupation, if you will, or that craft leveraged everything that all the greatness that you are,
Man.
and all the ways that you bring people together and encourage people and pull out of people their best selves, man. I just think it's beautiful.
You know, it's so funny. Compliments are hard for me,
Yeah.
and they've been hard for me since I was a believer. But being a believer gave me an easy way out. I could always just say glory to God.
God. Yep.
All
Yep.
and
Yep.
so just this isn't in my notes, but I do want to segue to you. Like, was that a struggle? Because I hear you
Oh.
talking about music
Oh
becoming
my
an
gosh.
idol for
Yeah.
you. What was it like when somebody come up to you and say, "Man, that song was beautiful this morning. You played amazingly." How much of that credit did you allow yourself to take? How did you feel when people complimented you?
You get good at deflecting that, right?
Yes.
I mean, you put up a shield that actually becomes part of your persona, and you forget how to actually take compliments. And if any part of that compliment gets past that shield and gets into your brain, you immediately, at least I did, I felt guilty and I repented of it. And I was like, oh Lord, I'm sorry that I
Yes.
felt any twinge of excitement or joy or gratitude from that compliment. It is all yours. And that is one of the reasons that music, I believed, or well, I believed God told me music became an idol to me, is
Mhm.
because some of those compliments, and I got them all the time, man.
Yes, sir.
Snuck past the guard gate that I had erected, and and then I tried to rationalize it by saying it's okay to be affirmed by other believers in what
Yeah.
you're passionate about and what God has called you to do. How else are you going to know that you're on the right track
Yeah.
unless people are telling you, man, you're gifted in what you do. Man, I can see God's call all over you when you're up there doing your thing and you're right. Man, I can just hear it in your music. And I'm not trying to brag here, but that's, you know it. That's the stuff you hear.
Yes.
And you want it to affirm you and tell you that you're on the right path and you're following the call, but you don't want it to stoke your pride and your ego.
Mhm.
So you give glory to God and you deflect, and then you repent and feel guilty if any of it makes you feel good about yourself,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Man, that's good stuff.
yeah.
Um, I realized my whole life I've had I used to have these recurring dreams of me trying to fly and
Mm.
then eventually flying and then being terrified because of not knowing how to come down.
Like
And so,
fly
yeah,
just yourself
just
with your arm, like flapping your
like
arms,
I'm up
not
in the
flying the
sky.
plane, right? Okay.
Yeah, right, yeah, right. No,
I
like
got
just
you.
me,
I got
and I'm floating up in the sky, and I can't come down, and I'm terrified,
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
like I've never had a falling dream. I've only
Okay.
had flying dreams, and I eventually realized it's because I'm terrified of success,
Mm-hmm.
and that often comes through. I can feel that fear coming up, even anytime someone compliments me, of that fear, because the reason I'm afraid of success is because I'm afraid of falling.
Ah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Do
like
you,
so when people do compliment me, if you'll notice, my head just kind of goes down a little bit
mhm.
because I'm trying not to like I don't even know how to respond. And
Yeah.
that's a part of like growing, that's a part of my trauma of not being allowed to ever take credit, not being allowed to feel good about your successes, and also living in a world of high pressure perfectionism,
Mhm.
where you have to be a certain way, especially when you're a black pastor. Oh my goodness, looks are everything, you know. And dude, that's hard. But no, like so, I appreciate all the kind words, but that was just such a great way to segue into that because that
Yeah.
I'm curious how many other people struggle with that. I struggle, and I don't want to struggle with it. I want to be able to say thank you, but I don't want to sound like a jackass when I say thank you, and that's what I'm afraid. Yeah, I know I'm great. Like my oldest daughter, we used to pick at her all the time. Cause say, "Oh Maya, you're so beautiful," and she say, "I know." I think
Oh,
that's what I'm gonna start
yeah.
saying to people.
Yeah.
But
Well,
no,
like I know a million people comment on your videos. I've seen them where they're like, "Man, you just helped me so much. I'm in my deconstruction journey, and I didn't know how to frame this until I heard your video and heard the way you framed it here." And I see how you respond back, and it's like, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
That means a lot to me, and I know you're being sincere about it, and I think that's a fine way to
Yeah,
express gratitude for what of you is resonating with somebody else, and that's the name of the game here.
yeah,
And so for me, the highest compliment I can be paid and the one that I receive, and I anchor it, I push it right into my heart and into my brain, and I say, don't forget this, HG, because this is why you're doing it. Is when somebody comes to me and says, I was so alone, I was so terrified, I was having these thoughts, I was having these experiences, I had these questions, and until I saw your videos on religious trauma, I didn't know I could be healed. I didn't know somebody could understand what I was saying. You have, and I know you hear this too, you have, I remember the Jesus rescuer complex. You have healed me. And I'm like, part of me is like, oh, don't get into the rescuer complex here. It's not why you're doing this. But then the other part of me is like, God damn it, this is why I started my channel.
Yes.
I started my channel to solicit or to ferret out, to tease out the people around the world who are suffering in silence. And now they have a vocabulary for what they're experiencing. They have an outlet. They have a community. I tell them about probably every 10th or 12th video I do. I'm like, hey, go check out Durante Lamar. He's building, you're doing what I can't do. I don't have the capacity and the time to do it, but you're doing it, right? You're taking on the mantle of building community. And I tell people, okay, now that you've stabilized, now that you feel confident in your deconversion, now go find community. And Durante and his channel and his community and Bridge City and all like that, they're doing it. I'm not doing it. Durante is doing it. I don't have the capacity to do it. Maybe one day. But yeah, man. So that's, I just love it. I just love it. Yeah, man, I'm gonna keep complimenting you because you deserve it, man. And you've inspired me like you just don't know. Anyway.
No, man, that's beautiful. You got a tear over here in my eye, man.
Enough of the bro love. Let's get on to the juicy stuff.
Well, one thing that you said that I definitely want to circle back to is you said you just had this moment when you were going through kind of unpacking the philosophical aspect of it, specifically with the problem of evil and why God would kind of create this enemy. And this is where things started falling apart from you.
Yeah.
And you said, and I quote, coming out of that, what have I been doing for the past 25 years? And I wanted to ask you, how are you processing that? Because that's what some people would normally carry that as regret, or wasted time. How are you carrying that? How are you processing that?
What a question, man. What a question. I probably all of it, right? Like there is regret, there's anger, there's like, every major decision in my life right now was made under the auspices of Christianity. Where I work, who I'm married to, the kids that I've adopted, the social network that I have, everything about my life was built out of the construct of Christianity. I don't regret. I don't want to say, well, I regret marrying the woman I married. I don't. If she ever sees this, I love you. She knows that, and she knows that we're working through our differences and we're trying to figure this out. It's very difficult, but we are committed to figuring out how to raise our kids, how to sustain our marriage and all that. But I look I think another way of asking that question, if you had to do it over again, would you do it the same way? And the answer is no, I wouldn't. And maybe that means I regret. I just know that the health impacts that religious trauma has had on me, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. I don't know how many people have had legitimate anxiety disorders and panic attacks and intrusive thoughts and the mental and cognitive psychological disruptions that come with religious trauma. It's awful. It is awful. Like, and I have it here. Like, if people really want to know, like, it's in my memoir on Monster. I'm sorry, self-plugging here, but
no, absolutely, we do that around here.
The raw truth and the day-to-day, what that feels like and experience, and what that experience is like, is in the book. There's, because that, by the way, that somatic response to trauma is still in me. It's still in me. It hasn't gone away. And because my body, the cortisol flood and all that comes with religious trauma, which grew again out of my traumatic childhood, unfortunately, my body has trained itself to respond so negatively to stress, just stress inputs in general. And, my bouts of religious trauma have the physical manifestations of that have not left me. And so when I'm going through personal crisis, like people on my channel know, and I've talked to you about before we went live here, I feel the same level of stress and anxiety that I felt because of my religious trauma. And I blame my religious trauma for that. Like, in other words, my body has now been trained to sort of react fight or flight in that way. Um, Even if I intuitively know, well, I'm not the Antichrist now, so why do I feel it? Why am I so terrified? Why am I so stressed out about this? It's now part of my daily existence, unfortunately. And I'm working. There's still medicine and there's still therapy and stuff to relieve that. But the body keeps the score. You've heard of these. When religion hurts you. You've read, by Laura Anderson and books like that. This stuff doesn't just go away. So I do regret, and I am angry, and I wish I would have done it differently, because physically, and emotionally and mentally, I still experience the manifestation of the trauma, even though the source might be different. I'm not walking around going, I'm the Antichrist right now. But I feel the same. I feel the effects of the stress in the same way. And that bothers me a
Yeah,
whole lot. And I get Christianity, why? But am I answering your question? I want to go back. Like,
absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
So what about the 25 years? Do I have regret? It's taught me a lot. I know it's taught you a lot. In fact, I loved your post the other day. It might have been on Facebook, where you had pictures and years
Of all
of
my
all the
my pastors, yeah.
that's right, all the people who have influenced you and shaped you. And I love the way what you wrote about that. And you're not angry, you're not regretful, but these people have intersected with you at these times and taught you what you needed to be taught. And you carry that learning and
Yeah,
that methodology and all that other stuff with you today. And you've sort of learned how to leverage it now through your
absolutely.
new vocabulary. So I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons, right? I'm trying to say, all right, you know what? I didn't have to write this book of sexual abuse and religious trauma and what all that's like and connecting the two, but I did. And I did it knowing, as terrifying as it was to write that and be connected to that kind of work and, with my channel and all that stuff, I do it because, well, this is the only life I got. I value human experience, like we were talking about. And I've got to translate that pain into something good.
Yeah,
And as hard as it is, as much as the Christians come and bombard my channel with "you go rot in hell," there's still enough of the "I can't believe somebody out there had the courage to say this and it's helped me so much." Enough of that overrides it to make me go, okay, this is worthwhile. So I am making lemonade out of lemons. I would love to just go get a travel van and lose myself in the American wilderness out west and never have to do another video again, never
yeah.
have to talk about my book again, never have this film that
Oh,
we've been,
bro, you and me both.
see the light of day, because I know what's going to come with all that. If
Yes.
you know what I'm saying, I already know what comes with all that. It's not fun. You know this. It's not pretty.
No.
It's hurtful. It's so hurtful when people come onto my channel and react to my videos and saying, you're deceived. This is Satan. This is satanic attack. And I'm like, how just insensitive. I have the literature, I have the scholarship, I have the anecdotes, I have everything else to make the case that it's not that stuff. And Christians will still come and say, go rot in hell, you Satan demonically influenced piece of shit. And they'll say that,
Yep.
and
Yes.
and I'm like, oh God, I hate this life. Like I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to expose what religious trauma is to the world. You're trying to build community. I mean, and educate people on everything that you know. And what's the response? Like, what are we moving the needle? Are we not
Yeah,
moving the needle? By golly, I better see some metrics that say we're moving the needle to make this worth it, to
man.
make this worthwhile. But brother, man, and history and all that. This is where it begins. This
Yes.
is how it begins. And when it begins, it is messy, it is clumsy, and the world's not ready for it. And people are going to gird up and they're going to grab their weapons of destruction and they're going to fight against it. And they're
Yes,
going to
sir.
accuse and they're going to back you into corners. And like any movement, any movement. And right now, and I don't know if you would agree with this or not, I believe we're in the throes of perhaps the most massive and widespread deconstruction movement
Oh, yes.
In American history, if not world
Absolutely.
history. I mean, we know the studies of the nuns and the duns and church attendance and all that. We see them. we know what Islam is doing in terms of 50 years from
Yes.
now. It'll be. I'm not crazy about that either. But but we're in it right now, right? This is
Absolutely.
what it feels like, and it feels shitty, and it feels great at the same time, because you see progress, and you see change, and you see people being healed, and you see people finding their footing, even at the expense of losing community and losing the thought of an afterlife. Like, you can create a different one. You don't have to say there's no heaven, there's no afterlife. Find another one that works for you, that's different for you. There's plenty to choose from, or you can invent your own. Like, that's what we've done anyway with religion.
Yes, pretty much.
But yeah, so like, what's stopping you from doing that again and making it what you want it to be? So yeah, man. This is what it feels like to be part of a movement on the ground floor. There's not money, right? It's not like people are pouring millions into what you and I. Well, yeah, I know you're making.
Come on,
but
man.
you know what I'm saying. But you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah.
I record videos on my iPhone, like when I can, and it's like, we're just doing it, right? We just got to do it, and
That's it.
I love that part of it. Like, I'm excited and empowered by that part of it. And when I see little results here and there, I'm like, okay. But yeah, man, I've wanted to walk away so many times. If somebody gave me $7 million to just get my my travel van and just go tour the American West, I'd be pretty tempted. I'd be pretty tempted to be like, if I'm not making a difference, I'm happy to just kind of roll in my chair back here. I'll fade into oblivion. Nobody has to hear from me again. But God damn it, I want to make a difference.
Listen, I wasn't gonna mention this tonight, but I mentioned before we started that for me, that's a thought. Like every 2 weeks, I'm thinking like, hey, I might be ready to shut the channel down, because of course, when I deconverted in 2014, I lost my vocational identity. That was the thing that I had spent my whole life developing as a career, as a professional career. And I'd done one hell of a job at it.
Yes, you did.
And then that's gone overnight. It's not even at that time, it wasn't even something that I could get back. It was something that I couldn't even go back to.
Right.
And it took me a long time to build another vocational path. And the year prior to deciding to come out publicly, I had just like climbed the ranks at my company, and I'd become the director of people and culture.
Yeah.
And everything seemed to be going great. I'm getting paid well. My channel was starting to pick up a little attention. And then like at the same time my channel is hitting hyper growth, I start hearing the rumors through the grapevine. Well, client found out Durante's an atheist.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, what? And I'm like, well, why should that matter? Why should that even be a conversation? And then of course, also it did not help that our country was shifting towards an anti-DEI stance at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I've lost my career now. The career, after having to rebuild it, which it hurts, but like, if I did it before, I can do it again type of thing. But it hurts because it's like I'm out here and I'm doing what I think is right. I'm doing what I think is helpful. And I'm seeing the affirmations from people letting me know, hey, this is helping. This is setting me free. And at the same time, I have 2 kids headed into college. I have 2 others in high school that are right behind them. I have a wife to take care of, which not like take care of, she take care of herself. We ain't like old school like that, But I got a whole life, and then just to be quite frank, because I don't hide this from my community, I don't feel accepted in the atheist space. I'm too preachy, I'm too black, I'm too cultural, I'm too much me. And it's like I can't perform anybody else but me. I am really, really good at being me, and so that's who I prefer to be. And so like there are weeks where I just wake up and like, man, if there was a way that I could press the reset button
Mm-hmm.
and just stay in my closet, I do it, man. There are certain days I be like, oh my goodness, because I loved my career. And that's
Yeah.
something I don't get to talk about, but I absolutely loved my career. I
Yeah.
loved the work that I did. I loved the way that I was able to help people. The work that I did, it wasn't just for DEI. I got to help people who had different religious persuasions get to show up to work as their true selves without having to be discriminated against. And now, like, I'm a marked man. I can't go nowhere because as soon as you type my name in, oh, it's this guy.
Yeah.
It's this guy.
Yeah.
And then I literally, and I'm just going to say it, and then I literally have people in the atheist community who go as far as to attack my channel when other people are sharing my stuff and say, oh, he doesn't deserve subscribers. And I'm like, whoa, these are people that don't even know me.
Wow.
Like it's been a very interesting journey. And if I was still a believer, I'd probably be very depressed. I'd probably be like, oh, this is God or the devil. Thankfully, now I understand the complexity of humanity, but it doesn't make it hurt any less, you know?
Yeah.
And so that kind of, before I go to my next question, did you have
Yeah,
anything on that? I don't want to rush you.
No, I mean, what you say? You were the director of people and culture in your.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't think of anything for you to be suited better for than something like that. I mean, I guess we could go down that road. I have a million questions for you about what atheists are saying about you that says you don't deserve more subscribers and all that. I don't, I don't want to derail the conversation there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something you and I could talk about offline. But I mean, as somebody who I am a keen observer of content creators in this area to see what they're doing, to see what they're talking about, to see what's resonating and stuff. And man, I don't know how many of your videos I've seen. I mean, hundreds, I guess.
Man.
Knowing you personally and all that, man, you got my vote. I mean, are we exactly alike? Who cares? I don't know.
Right.
Maybe not. But I mean, I so respect, and I wish other people would respect where you're coming from who don't respect. I know a lot of people do. But yeah, man, it's just like, anyway, I'll keep complimenting you. You can go on to your next question. It's just, it amazes me that the work you're doing, that it would be contrary in this space that we both occupy in the deconstruction space. Like, it's so helpful and it's so insightful. But anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my next question, and we'll wrap it up soon.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask two questions at the same time because I want you to be able to think about them all in contrast. What is the hardest part of living life as a non-believer? And what is the most liberating part of living life as a non-believer?
So the hardest part, that's easy, hiding. I do hide. And I do that for reasons. And I actually have a video on my channel that talks about why I still go to church and why I still keep up the facade and stuff like that. There's reasons that I do it. There are reasons of protection. There's reasons of privacy. There's all kinds of reasons, but it is hard, right? Not in all, but in a lot of my interactions and a lot of my social networks and stuff like that. No, people don't know this me that you're talking to, which is like the real, authentic, just tell it like it is kind of person. A lot of people will say you're disingenuous. I still go to church, and I have my reasons for doing that. And I know people don't agree with that. I don't agree with myself half the time for doing that. But I use the time as research, and I'm like, what is being said from the pulpit nowadays? Like how are they framing Christianity? And it's a pretty conservative, I'd call it a leaning toward fundamental Christian church. It's not charismatic, it's not speaking in tongues, it's not all, it's a non-denominational Christian church. So you know what that is, you know what that sounds like. It's evangelical. It's but they still talk about original sin. They talk about the enemy. They talk about the devil. I'm like, oh boy, you guys just don't examine what you're saying. But to sit through something like that and just be like, oh, and not raise your hand in the middle of a service and say, hey, Pastor, back up two lines there. You talked about the enemy. Let's talk about that a little bit. Don't a congregation, don't just brush that off. Like, let's explore what he said. Let's align that up with even scripture. Is that accurate? Does it make rational sense? Is it reconcilable? So to sit back and not do that day in and day out in terms of the interactions that I have, because I have a lot of friends in the church that are Christian, and I still
Yeah.
interact with them, and I still like, hey, I'm HG. I'm the guy that you know from church, and that is extremely hard. It is unhealthy. I will say that to some degree.
Yeah.
And so the times I have to bifurcate, and be H.G. Roberts, the author, the channel creator, the friend of Durante, that's liberating, right? That feels great. But the times that I have like, watch what you say here. Don't, my members of my family don't know this side of me. They don't know about my channel. They don't know about my book. They don't know about my deconversion. And that's on purpose. And it would be extremely harmful. And the film that, I don't know how much we can talk about it or can't talk about it.
I know it, right?
But I'm going to just say, because I say the movie Heathens, that's going to come out at some point. And hopefully people are going to see it, that both Durante and I and 3 other people are in. It's a documentary. It's going to be a very powerful, I think, and very controversial and provocative documentary that's going to inspire a lot of conversations like we're having here on a more national level. I hope that's the intention. Yeah. Anyway, I forgot where I was going with that, but I brought up the film for some reason. I don't remember what it was now, but so what is hard about it and what is liberating? It was the other side of the question. What is liberating is, just being able to be yourself, being able to explore and examine and research and talk about and frame and process and just like sit with the tensions that this religion creates and work through that, to me, is very rewarding. Most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to investigate what I know you go deep in investigating. I don't go quite as deep in the subjects that a lot of the subjects you are, but I do go very deep in the psychological and cognitive research around religious trauma. I've got a whole playlist about the psychology of religious trauma. We talk about hyperphantasia. We talk about cognitive biases and cognitive lenses and filters and what rose-colored glasses actually mean. We get into all of the deep stuff like that. Why are there biases in Christianity? What are presuppositions? Why do we have them? All that stuff. I enjoy that. I have a master's degree, and so I enjoy the scholarly side of things. I enjoy the debate side of things, and to be able to just enter into that is liberating. And what's also liberating, as I've said a million times, is when somebody connects with you and somebody is helped along on their own journey because of something you've said and done, the way you framed it, the way you've expressed it, to be able to go out into the world and say, I'll be the guy that talks about childhood sexual abuse very openly and very honestly. I'll wear that mantle. I know how destructive it can be. I know how triggering it can be, but I'll do it. And I know that you've like worn that clothing as well, to say it needs to be said. And I love it when you're like we're preaching now. Hey, we're just talking now. Or the phrases you say when he's like, we're just talking now, you guys. Hold on, everybody. Yes. Here we go. And I'm like, oh, that's when I lean in. And I'm like, come on, Durante, come on, baby. And I'm like, say what needs to be said, my man. Like, don't hide behind it. And that's exciting, and that's liberating, and that's empowering. And that's my answer to that.
Dude, I love it. Man, it has been an absolute pleasure with you, talking to you tonight. Like, I didn't expect us to stay in the question mode this long. Like, my plan was to take us into your top 10 videos, and there's just no way we're doing that tonight, because we've ate up the time. And I'm not mad at that, because the thing is, your deconstruction story started us off on this path, and I'm so glad we started that way, because it gave us so much meat to talk about. One of our members of Bridge City is in the chat, and Darklight mentioned earlier, he said he hasn't seen you in our community. And so I'm making an official invite now, because we do these things called small talks and trigger warnings. Trigger warnings are normally on Saturdays, and then small talks are just any day during the week. But they're just times where someone comes in and talks about a subject. Okay. And then there's group conversation on it afterwards. Okay. I love to get you in. It's internal, it's private. I don't want to say private. It's just not out.
I'm in.
We'd love to have you come do a session on religious trauma, man.
Yeah, let's do it.
Perfect.
So just communicate with me offline, like email me, like when and where and what, and I'll count.
Beautiful.
I'd love to do it. I'm humbled that you would ask, and that your community, or at least one person in your community, says this would be a helpful thing to talk about. Let's do it. 100%.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Well, man, I do want to give you some time because like we've talked about so much tonight. And so before we go, which I kind of like to do this with all my guests, I want to give you some, if you have any final thoughts, any closing words for us, I'm going to spotlight you for a moment unless you tell me you don't have anything.
Well, man, you know me, I'll talk, I'll keep going, but I'll be brief about it. I'm going to plug some things. So yeah, I guess what I want people to walk away with here is that religious trauma is real. It should not be dismissed. It needs to be more broadly talked about. We have a vocabulary to broadly talk about it. On my own website, on monstersandphantoms.com, that's again the name of my memoir. It's available on Amazon, but I have a bibliography of research that is growing and building, and I keep adding to it. And there's tons and tons and tons of scholarly articles there that talk about all aspects of the cognitive and psychology behind religious trauma. And so it's there. It's like a lit review for a dissertation, if you will. And I want people to know that this is being discussed in scholarly literature. It's not being discussed in churches. It's barely being discussed in the public consciousness, but it should be, and it can be, and it needs to be. And I'm here to help give a vocabulary to that and help us to raise awareness of it, and to help people who are suffering in silence know that there's a community where this stuff can be discussed. It can be normalized. It's a safe space. People can share their stories. They can share their stories with each other through my channel. I don't have all the community building tools that you have, Durante, and maybe I can start getting into that the more we connect. But
yes.
Yeah, man, you got my channel up there. I'd love people to go check it out, lean into what's being said there, share what's being said there, share it in your chats, in your what do you call them? Oh, come on, Durante, I'm just tired, man. What's the word?
I'm right there with you because I was trying to think of a word too.
Your communities, it's the deconstruction zone has Discord. Thank you. Gosh, I couldn't.
Oh, Discord, the place that I hate. I mean, we have one, but I hate Discord.
I don't use it either, to be honest with you, but I know people do, and
yes,
there's communities out there, and so just share this stuff. Say, hey, we need to start talking more about religious trauma. But man, I'm so grateful. I love you, Durante. You know that. The more we talk, the more excited I am to be your friend, to be called your friend, and to be in this community with you. And so, thank you so much for having me tonight, man. I love it. Let's do it again.
Absolutely, like this. We're definitely gonna do this again. Thank you so much for being here, man. Like, thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being open and just honest. I think that's really what we need more of all the way around.
Yeah.
I always use the old anecdote that, we're all just a blind person touching the elephant. And this is why, like, I don't know if y'all tell, I get excited hearing people talk about their stories. And I'm being honest now. It's not always altruistic. There's a selfishness in it. I get excited hearing other people's stories because it helps me understand myself better.
Mm-hmm.
When I hear people talking about the trauma they're dealing with and the ways they're responding to it, I'm like, ooh, I think that's what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Or wow, I never looked at it that way. Yep. So that's incredible. And for those of you who are a part of Bridge City, y'all be on the lookout because I'm bringing them to one of our trigger warnings or one of our small talks. I'm gonna talk to Ashley about it because y'all know she the boss. She the head of community. I'm gonna run it by her. But no, we're definitely gonna make this happen. Again, man, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm gonna take you down and put you in the back for a little bit as I close the show out.
Okay.
And everybody, dang, I just cut them off. Y'all see how rude I am? Maybe this is why people don't like me in the atheist community. I'm just so rude, just shutting the door in people's face. I am so sorry. But no. Thank y'all for being here tonight. I hope y'all got half as much out of this conversation as I did. And I got so much out of it. I love HG. We've known each other for a while now. We met through the same documentary. And it was like, I hate to use like 90s, bromance terminology, but it was like instant connection. Like, and And we've been there. I've had him on the channel before with the group. This is my first time having him on solo, and I've definitely got to do this again because I think we could have went on for probably about another 2 hours, and maybe we will one time. Maybe we'll do one of them like streamathons or something like that. But please let us know what y'all thought in the chat. Let us know what you thought about tonight's conversation. What did you learn? If you're watching the replay, let us know what you thought about this conversation in the comments. So that way other people can, kind of know like, oh, this is a conversation worth watching. And if you haven't already, go like, share HG's videos, and subscribe to his channel. He's doing great work over there. If you love what I'm doing by trying to do my best to highlight the sociological harms, he's highlighting the cognitive harm. He's highlighting the psychological harm. That's a little more personal. You're going to want some of that. Listen, you're going to need some of that. So go get you some and don't keep it to yourself. Sharing is caring. If you know anybody who's dealing with religious trauma and maybe they don't have language for it yet, send them to his channel. Find a video that you think will fit, send it to him. Find a short that you think will fit, send it to him. It's doing those little small random acts of kindness, and that is a kindness. Those things can open a lot of doors and can create a lot of conversations. That's all I have for you tonight, you all. Thank you all so much for being here. Again, I still have his link scrolling on the bottom. I'm going to give y'all some music to play y'all out. I will warn you. Now, if the first you like the first song, that was like CCM. The last song is going to be a little bit more like Fred Hammond. So if you get triggered by black church music, this is your trigger warning. But it's not church music. It's people music. You'll see. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with me today. And as always, keep rising.
Made it through hunger, you made it through pain, you made it through drought, and you made it through rain. You rose over conflict, you've conquered your shame. You've done it before and you'll do it again. You made it through hunger, you made it through pain, yeah. You made it through drought and you made it through rain. You rose over conflict, you conquered your shame. Yeah. You've done it before and you do it again. There is nothing that can ever take your place, 'cause you made it here. You are one of us, this global human race. You made it here. There is nothing that can ever take your place, 'cause you made it here. You are one of us, this global human race. You made it here. You made it through darkness. You made up your mind. Yeah. You dealt with the hardest of times. Oh. You're finding your joy now and learning to shine. Oh. Enjoying your voice and reclaiming your time. Again. You made it through darkness. Yeah. You made up your mind. Yeah, yeah. You dealt with the hardest of times. You're finding your take your place. You are one of us, this global human race. Oh, there's nothing that could ever take your place. Is anybody glad that you made it?